Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses, and today we're having a head-to-head. We're pitching the Sinnis Terrain T380 against the Moto Morini X-Cape 650. Now, you might think that's a bit of a weird comparison, but the test purpose is to see if this will do what that can do. So let's roll the intro and get cracking. So to start with, let's go over some of the details. Now I'll talk about the power of the bike whilst I'm riding them, so I'll take them out in a little while and do various tests on a little bit of dirty roads, a hill start, quite a steep hill start, and normal everyday riding, and see how they compare and see whether this will just cut the mustard or whether you definitely need something a bit more powerful. Now, to make it slightly fairer, I fitted my top box of my Triumph onto the Moto Morini. So that's a 46 litre Givy box, or Givy, whatever you want to say. Now, to start with, that wasn't a straightforward fit, and I'll talk to you about that in a second as to what we had to do to get that to fit properly. However, this one, as you know, comes with the boxes already. So in the price of the bike, you get the 3 boxes already fitted. That's why I want to fit something on that to make it a bit of a fairer test. Now, this bike is currently for sale. It's a 22 plate, hasn't done many miles, and it's currently for sale for £3,500. That is an absolute bargain. But again, we'll go over the features as we're riding it. Now, you know, we've done a couple of tests on this, but we've never done a comparison with a bigger bike. Now, the Moto Morini does come in an A2 compatible version. This one is A2 compatible. That one isn't, but they do a version. But the test is, if you've passed your test already and you want to go up to a bigger bike, is this sufficient, or do you need something a bit more powerful? Now, what I like about the Sinnis Terrain is, one, it's parallel twin engine, so it's got a lovely sound to it. And the other thing is the massive screen you get on it and the presence the bike has. I mean, look at it, it's ginormous, it looks fantastic. One downside, as you know from previous videos we've done on this, is the side stand. Now, I'm glad this comes with a centre stand, and it's not that difficult to get on it. But the side stand is too short. Now, let me demonstrate. Getting it off the centre stand, fairly straightforward, no problem at all. Side stand, it leans over a bit too far for my liking. You get a bit of weight in one of these boxes, and it doesn't take much to tip it. Putting it back on the centre stand, it's pretty straightforward. There you go. The X-Cape, about the same sort of weight, a little bit more as you'd expect from a bigger engine, but it doesn't feel overly heavy to manoeuvre. It doesn't come with a centre stand. You only get a side stand, but it's got a low slung seat, so it's quite easy to get on and off. Other than that, it looks beautiful. It's a very pretty looking bike. It's got a massive screen, the same as the Terrain. It's quite simple in the way it's designed and the way it's laid out, but it's just aesthetically beautiful. Now, I'm going to move on to this top box and the reason why we had to modify it. Now, this base plate and these handles come as standard on this bike. However, you can't really get anything underneath to bolt a plate to, so you have to remove this to do it. Now, because obviously the bolts that came with this Givy rack thing, we could have made them smaller, but there wasn't a lot left on the threads. So what we've done is raised the whole thing up. We put spacers, 6 spacers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 longer bolts, and then we've got space under here to fit it. Otherwise, we'd be damaging the plastic on there. And it fits quite nicely. Ta-da! It was a little bit of a push to get that seat in, and if I can demonstrate that, wait for it. It pings up. It's not horrendous, you know, you're not going to launch someone over the handlebars, but it is a little bit more of a push than you normally would. Other than that, there it is. Now, before we go any further, I just want you to draw your attention to the aesthetics of both these bikes. Now, these are very well built, and I like the way they're built. Everything looks very, very good quality and really nicely made. The only thing I would say is the exhaust. It's okay, it sounds okay, but it could do with a beefier sounding exhaust, I think. You know, the Sinnis Terrain, however, has the stainless steel exhaust at the front and then sort of a mild steel arrangement towards the back. Similar to this, you know, you do get the crash bars on here as standard, and they're £250 if you want to add them on this. You do get the boxes as standard. They're £1,000 for the boxes and racks if you want to add them on the Moto Morini. So then, that's enough waffle for now. Let's get out on the road and see how they fare. So then, here we are first on the Sinnis Terrain T380. Now, as you know, we took this along with the Sinnis T310 and the Royal Enfield Himalayan on our 3-day camping trip. Jamie fell in love with this bike. I liked it second to the Sinnis T310, and Malcolm was in love with his Royal Enfield Himalayan. Out of all of these though, or all of those should I say, this one felt more the bigger bike. I think mostly because it's got its parallel twin engine, and it just feels more substantial than the others. It's very smooth, very easy to use, very simple to manoeuvre. It's got plenty of torque, nice bit of power. This is very easy to manoeuvre, slow speeds, higher speeds. No problems with it whatsoever. Now, being winter, it's been quite a while since I've been on a bike. Several weeks, possibly even a couple of months. How sad is that? And this Nissan Micro with what looks like banded steels on it. Okay. Each to their own. Just to remind you, if you've forgotten about the review we did on this, by all means go back and have a look. In fact, I'll stick a link in the description below. The Sinnis Terrain T380, easy bike to ride. Ridiculous side stand. Weight wise, about 200 kilos. I shall put all the power figures, etc., down the side of the screen now, rather than me go through it all again like I did in the previous review video. I like the size of the screen on this. It's very big. I also like the dash. Simple to read numbers. Everything is very easy. Gear change is nice and smooth. Low speed tottering, very easy. You're not about all over the place. You are quite well balanced. Decent brakes. Mirror visibility is pretty decent. I can see only about 10% of arm. Other than that, we're all good. What a glorious day. Perfect biking weather. Not ridiculously hot, not freezing cold. Sun is out. Roads are okay. Just a very easy, light gear change. And bear in mind it's a little bit windy. I'm not really being battered about. It's quite stable on the road. I think that helps with the weight, or the weight helps that. Any negatives at this point? For a 380 you could do with a bit more power, a bit more poke at the lower end. But other than that, I mean, for what it is, being a 380, it's got the feel of a much bigger bike. Going down a very bumpy road, handles the bumps very well, no dramas there. I don't know what it's like in your area, but potholes, see what I mean? Very bumpy road. Potholes are a nightmare at the moment. They seem to be everywhere. The road conditions are terrible at the moment. I'm sure they're going to blame funding or lack thereof, and staffing and all the other nonsense. But yeah, it handles it very nicely. In a moment, I'll take it down the dual carriageway and see what it's like at dual carriageway speeds. But for now, let's do a comparison between this and the Moto Morini on a hill start. I shall put that in very shortly. Before I do that, let's go on a nice hill descent. So put it down into second gear and let it do its thing on its own. I'm not touching the brake, not touching the clutch. The engine braking is holding it at 16 miles an hour, 17. That's actually holding it really well. Very pleasing. So, here we go now on the X-Cape 650. And instantly, you know you're on a bigger bike. Not because of the size, but because it just pulls away just a little bit easier than the T380. I do like this bike. It's nice and smooth. It's very simple. It doesn't feel like a heavy bike at all. With the top box on, you don't really notice it. It doesn't make a massive difference. Actually, I'm going to go down this bumpy bit like I did with the other one. I'm going to turn around and come back down here where it was ridiculously bumpy and see how this fares. Yeah, it's still pretty much the same, but nothing tragic. If anything, it's a bit more forgiving than the Sinnis Terrain. I do like the suspension on this. These forks are fantastic, Marzocchi forks of course, and they are very nice indeed. The gear change lever is a little bit deeper on this, so you've got to push it down a little bit more than you do on the Sinnis Terrain. It's not a major problem, it's just getting used to changing gear slightly differently. Now, because obviously I've got my visor down and my roof helmet, I can't see a bloody thing. I do apologise. I don't want the vents open because I don't want it interfering with me talking. So at slow speeds, especially when the sun's low, I can't see anything. but I can see well enough to be safe on the roads, so don't worry. Especially now there's a bit of airflow. Now this doesn't feel snatchy at all. Whatever gear I'm in 4th now, doing 30 miles an hour, and it's got some go. In 5th at 27, it still pulls away. It's better in 4th. But I really do like this bike. It's so easy to ride. It's comfortable, although I have to say the seat is more comfortable on the terrain. Now I do apologise if there is wind noise. It is quite windy atop this cliff here on this road. The screen is not as big on this as it is on the Sinnis Terrain, but it seems to do its job quite nicely. The mirrors are slightly longer in the stalk, so I've got better visibility. I've got pretty much 100% visibility out of these mirrors. Not seeing arm, which is fantastic. Very clear view of the road. I love this dash, very easy to see, very clear. I like the fact that you've got a low dipped in seat. It's not as low as the Terrain T380, but it's still very comfortable and very easy. Remember, I'm 5'10.5" with a 31.5 inch inside leg, and I can be flat-footed on both this and the Sinnis Terrain. So now I'm used to that gear change having to go a bit longer. I just flip my foot up a tiny bit more and it's simple. The brakes are much better on this. They are of course Brembo brakes, and they are superb, especially the front brake. Rear brake is, you know, much of a muchness. It's a rear brake. Front brake, fantastic. Sound wise, there's not a massive difference between this and the Sinis. They both have that parallel twin sound, which is pretty crappy really, to be honest. It's a bit Euro 5 and a bit dull, and par for the course for what you'd expect. Very easy to manoeuvre at slow speeds, great road balance, good pickup. I mean, you would expect this to be quicker because it's a 650 and not 380. And some people would say that's what they need, but I don't know. It depends what you use the bike for, especially adventuring, slow speed adventuring. It doesn't really make a massive difference, does it? Now, whilst I'm down here, I'm going to take this opportunity to go onto here. A little bit of dirt and gravel and see how we get on. That's quite deep gravel. Not a fan of that. Oh, that is deep gravel. Ooh. Yeah, not a fan of that at all. I mean, it's holding its own quite nicely, and I am keeping it slow. This stuff's better. But the deep gravel, it doesn't like it. It's a little bit snatchy in first gear, I would say. I won't be doing any donuts. Let's stand up and see how it fares. Easy. So once again, let's take it onto this little bit of gravel and see what this is like in comparison to the 380. Again, soft gravel, not good. Don't like soft gravel. Oh, and it holds its own quite nicely. It's yeah, just the same as the other one, to be honest. No real difference. Not many bikes like soft gravel, but this, like the Sinnis Terrain, holds its own very well. Bit of standy uppy, simple, not as snatchy. I find this is not as snatchy as the 2380, much simpler to maneuver at these low speeds, and your knees can dig in the side of the tank quite nicely. I like that, nice and smooth. So what we're going to do now, I'm in first gear, we're going to do a little bit of a hill start and see how it pulls away. So here we go, don't mind Jamie over there. Right, first gear, a little bit of revs. Easy. First of all, we'll do a slow one. Easy, nice and gentle, no worries there. So let's do a slow turn round. First gear, easy manoeuvre, very simple to turn round. And let's do a slightly faster, more aggressive hill start pull away. So here we go. So I'm going to go down this hill again like I did before in second gear. No brakes, no clutch. And look, 16 miles an hour again. Easy. Again, just as smooth, just as simple as the Sinnis Terrain. Low speed manoeuvring, turn round, very balanced, very easy, nice. So now we'll do a spirited one. As expected, being a 650, a lot more grunt and ease getting up the hill. Not that the T380 didn't do it easily enough, but obviously this one does it a bit quicker. It's quite simple, really. It's the bigger capacity engined bike does it a bit quicker than the lesser capacity engined bike, but both still pretty decent. Now obviously the gearing is slightly different on this, so you can get more out of each gear. So for such a bigger bike, not necessarily size wise but capacity, it's surprisingly simple to manoeuvre. Cornering is simple, smooth, pull away. Gets up to speed with no issues. You've got a lot of confidence riding this bike. It sticks to the road well. It rides well. It's got some get up and go if you want it. Now, jumping straight off the Moto Morini and straight back onto the Sinnis Terrain gives me a great comparison between the two. Now where I can see, obviously, and you can see, obviously, that the Moto Morini pulls away a hell of a lot quicker. This is still decent. You know, for the weight of the bike, the size of the bike, it's still pretty decent. Obviously it's working harder, and the gears are a lot closer together, but it's not bad. So then, we'll head back to the yard and have a quick sum up whilst it's all fresh in my mind. Meanwhile, please let me know in the comment section below which one you think is the better bike. What do you prefer? Looks wise, ride wise, price wise, power? Let me know. Now I do see one flaw with this Terrain, and that is the gearing. Oh, that's so well balanced. But so first, second, third, fourth feels comfortable at 25 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour, fifth gear at 3,500 RPM. The gear ratios are just too close together. You need more out of each gear, and then getting to 70 wouldn't be, you know, a drama. I mean, yes, it would take slightly longer perhaps, but you'd get more out of it. Although 70 is the legal limit, so, you know, fair enough. Perhaps it's where it should be for better acceleration. Just feels though, 30 mile an hour, 3,500 RPM, fifth gear for a 380cc. Alright then, time for a sum up. Well, obviously the higher capacity bike has more power, stands to reason. However, this has a lot of positives over that. One, mainly one, it's cheaper, a lot cheaper. This one is 7 grand, this one is 5. However, they don't make it new anymore in the UK. So if you can get yourself a second-hand one, which this one is, snap it up, because they are brilliant for the money. Now this one is for sale for 3.5 grand on a 22 plate. Absolute bargain, absolute bargain. And if you do want it, pop along to Lightning Storm Motorcycles or send us a message and we'll sort you out. However, this one is a different kettle of fish altogether. You know, it's got a lot more over that. Now let's talk about pros and cons of both. Marzocchi forks, not Marzocchi forks. Brembo brakes, not Brembo brakes. Now the brakes on this are they J1 brakes? They are unbranded, but they work all right. They've got ABS, they work okay. But these are sharp, really sharp. You pull on that front brake and you know about it. These ones are okay, they stop the bike, but these ones are superb. Seat comfort. This one, I love the seat on this. It's not as comfortable as that, but the problem with that seat is that the way it is shaped, it sort of pushes you down into the tank a bit, whereas this you are seated nicely in a nice position, handlebars at a nice position. Again, handlebars are a good position on this, but I just find for me that seat sort of pushes me a little bit into the tank. Comfort, ride comfort, both as good. This I'd say is a little bit harsher because of the tyres. I would say these tyres felt better. However, the grip is better on these. Being Pirelli Scorpion tyres, they are superb. But these do the job just as well. Now, a lot of people like spoked wheels. You've got them on here. Tyre pressure monitors, of course. You don't get them on this one. These have got the mag style wheels. I like the screen on this. I wish this screen was slightly bigger. It still does its job okay, but I just wish it was a bit bigger. I like the fact that you get the crash bars as standard on here and the boxes built in. That's fantastic. Whereas you've got to spend 250 quid, £1,000, just £1,250 on top to get what this already has. But then again, you are in, let's say, a different bracket of bike with this one. The sound, they both sound pretty much the same. There's not a lot of difference. I mean, you can hear on the ride past, there's not a massive difference in how they sound. They've both got that parallel twin with a Euro 5 exhaust sound. I like the screen on that as much as I like the screen on that. It's hard to call. I mean, it all comes down to what your budget is, I think. Obviously, power-wise, this has it over that. This is far more powerful. It pulls away nicely, gets up to 70 really nicely. This one does get up to 70 and beyond, but it's a lot slower to get there. Aesthetically, gorgeous, very Italian looking, very sort of BMW stroke Triumph looking. Other than that, they're both red. Now, if you had a passenger on this, 70 may be a bit more of an issue. Passenger on this, not a drama. I do like the fact that this has a centre stand. I don't like the fact that this doesn't have a centre stand, and there isn't a capacity for one. However, the side stand on this is dire, because it's about that much too short. So, one of those big steps you get on the bottom, that'll sort that out quite nicely. And that's about all I've got. If you can afford it, get one of them. If you don't want to spend £7,000 and you can find a really good second-hand one, snap that up, because they are brilliant for what they are and they're brilliant for the money. I don't want to choose. I like these, and I like bigger capacity bikes because, you know, I like all that power and stuff. So for me, I would choose one of these. In fact, I am selling my Triumph 1200. And if you pop along to my website, there'll be a link in the description below, you'll see that it's for sale. However, it's for sale for £6,295, which is a good price for that kind of bike. It's only done 19,000 miles. This is a shameless plug, I do apologise. But it's got the heated seats, it's got heated grips, it's got the guards, it's got front and rear mounted cameras, and it's got the centre stand, which was extra on the Triumph. And for not much more, you can get a brand new one of these. But then again, it's a Triumph. Now, I'm getting rid of that Triumph because I don't really use it at all. I'm struggling to push myself to use it. And that's why my top box is now on this, because if I need one, I'll just take this demo bike. Perfect. However, I'd be very happy to go on this because it does what I need it to do. That's all I've got to say, really. Now, if you've got some opinions, please let me know in the comment section below. If you think this is a fair comparison, now, the reason why, don't forget, it's not this versus that as such. It's, is this as good or good enough that you don't have to get one of these? You can decide that, and please let me know in the comment section below. And that's all I've got time for this video. I'll be back next time with something else. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Goodbye.